Hello networkers, and welcome back to another episode of Ask the Network Engineer, where I will answer one of your questions. And this question is a follow-up from the last question that we talked about in the last episode, which is posted by HD Flight Sim. And his second question that he asked was, I have a CCNA, a CCMP in routing and switching, and a CCNA in security. Some people suggest that you should remove those certifications and just include maybe just your CCNA so that companies know that you are an entry-level seeker. Wow, that's a great question right there. And there's some good parts and there's some bad parts about this. So let's get started. So really, this is what I recommend for particular people. If you're starting out and you're getting your CCNA and you have plans of getting your CCMP and higher, you got to kind of do it very gradually based on what your occupation is. Now, it's very easy to go ahead and get certified. It's very easy to accomplish that. But you got to be aligned with your certifications and your job roles and responsibility. So when you're starting out, get your CCNA. That is the entry-level certification you should definitely go with. And then you get an entry-level job, get the entry-level experience of networking experience. So now you have your CCNA and you have entry-level networking experience. Very basic networking stuff, which you can accomplish in a technical support center, a network-centric company like Cisco or an ISP, things of that nature though. When you have gotten to that level, then you get your CCNP. And then from there, it will allow you to easily get a job as a network engineering person. Because now you have the experience and now you can get the certification that will match that. And then from there, when you're at that level, then you can go ahead and pursue your CCIE. And then from there, of course, that can allow you easily to get a job as a senior network engineer. You got to do things really in steps. So if you are basically getting your CCNA, your CCMP, and your CCIE, but your experience for networking is basically still right here, it will become an issue for employers to say, oh, they're paper certified. That yes, you're CCIE, but we're looking for somebody that can manage our entire campus infrastructure. And they'll be asking you technical questions that you can answer from a textbook perspective, but not from a practical perspective. And that's what the employers are looking for. And of course, that really kind of gets them concerned. Because yes, you may be working at a help desk, but help desk centers typically do not hire CCIEs, that could pay them maybe $40,000 a year. That's they're concerned with that because they're thinking that you can find something better, which in reality, if you did get something better, you would leave that environment because that's what that employer is actually thinking to themselves. Now, if you are a person that you already have your CCMP and your CCIE, let's say that you have that, then there's two different approaches of how you can do this. Okay, and I've seen both approaches work and not work, and I'll tell you what that means. So it does depend on the job that you are applying for. So if you're applying for more of a lower entry kind of job, yes, put your CCNA on that resume. Don't put your CCNP because that will scream like, oh, so you have a intermediate networking certification, but this job will be very remedial for networking experience. So that could basically not consider you for the role. So yes, you can consider putting down your CCNA, the lower certification on there to get you the job, to get the experience, and then you can say, hey, I'm certified with my CCMP now. And that could allow you to move up within the company if that opportunity arises. So you can do that. But there's a gotcha there. You gotta be very careful. It all depends on the environment. So let's say that you put down your CCNA and you apply for a job and you got the job at a technical support center. But let's say that someone finds out that you are CCMP, whether it's from a website, conversation in the hallway, people listen. And if they hear that, then it could come off to management that you're kind of deceitful. Like, why didn't you tell us that you got your CCNP? And you could tell them the truth, but that will plant a lot of different ideas about you and your character as an engineer. That if this person is hiding the fact that they got a CCNP, what else could they be hiding from us? Even as an engineer, you could be making mistakes and they may not even know about it because you're hiding something that big. So you gotta be very, very careful if you do have a CCMP or a CCIE and you're working at a lower entry level position, because those concerns could come up, and I have actually seen that a couple of times. But that usually happens because people are doing a lot of chit chat in the hallways. They're talking with people that they're not aware that other people are listening, and that information could eventually go back to the boss. Now, some environments don't do it again, but other environments, they have big concerns with that, and it's very unlikely that you could move ahead within the company because they don't trust you though, because you have withheld important information about what you have obtained with your certifications. Even though your intent is very good, like, are you going to hire me to do a help desk job if I have a CCIE in security? I have never seen employers actually do that. I've seen employers actually look at resumes that have CCIEs and no networking experience, and they get really, really like, what's going on here, Michael? Why am I getting these resumes of people with CCMPs and CCIEs but no experience? And I tell them, I say, yes, they have the textbook, but managing the networks is really not that challenging though. And you want a person that is disciplined like that. So I actually encourage employers, give them a phone call them up and ask them questions about what you want for their responsibilities. Because if they're getting these certifications, then they're motivated. You want people like that. Because I've seen people that are not motivated and they got the experience just because of luck. And they never really do anything beyond that. So sometimes they will call those people and kind of figure out, well, what's going on here? That you have no networking experience, but you have these high level certifications. And so you can deal with that in a couple ways of if you are approached with that question, whether you are applying for a job or if you're already working at a company and you're trying to figure out, well, how do I tell them if they do find out? So if you are approached by somebody in management and they want to figure out, why didn't you tell us about you got this CCMP or your CCIE on your resume and didn't tell us about it? Or maybe you're thinking, no, I worked hard on my CCMP and my CCIE. I want to put that down on my resume because that should show the value that I can provide for the company, because I'm willing to study and really be prepared for all these technologies, and I can definitely apply that in the right environment. Okay. So whatever situation that you do, you are going to be asked, whether during a phone interview or in-person interview, you'll probably be asked that a couple of times. So your approach, the question is, how can you really answer that question? Right? And really, you can really just be honest. You can just tell them that, that you do want to be a network engineer. And, you like networking, that's what you want to do. And you like to study, you like to read about technologies. But you understand that it requires experience. And you got to start somewhere. And I feel that this company is a great fit for that. So I figured that I can put my high ambitions of being a network engineer, let's put that aside. Because as a network engineer, it's not just learning about routers and switches and things like that. It's important to know about the entire environment. Desktops, servers, customer service, networking, all these things are important. So yes, I did not put down my CCMP or my CCIE because I figured that isn't relevant for the job that I'm applying for. I'm applying for a job and doing my job, doing technical support, working with customers on desktop issues, server issues, a little bit of networking. And that's gaining me experience of doing customer service, working with different environments, troubleshooting, And what's great about this is that I'm learning in an environment that I have a great team, people who are very motivated, a good management staff, and that's fantastic though. So I would definitely love to eventually move up within the company. I have no interest in leaving the company. I like the company. You want to say those kind of things. You want to say that you are in support of the company and what they are doing, that you have no intentions of leaving. Now, don't get it. Some people could interpret that so this is just a stepping stone for you. And you just gave me a good speech about basically why you're doing what you're doing here. That could come off like that. But I think if you're honest, you can definitely do that, but it could be risky though. It all depends on the environment that you work in. I've seen different types of environments. It all depends on the management staff. Are they really rough? Are they not very open and understanding of things? You know, and you can quickly tell that during an interview process or if you're working there. You know, I worked in environments where there's certain people that they were just really rough around the edges. But I also worked in environments where the management staff and the people, they were just really nice. You know, if you said things like, hey, I'm thinking about taking my CCMP, they'll support you on that. And they will do whatever they can to make sure that happens though. Other environments don't do that. So it all depends on how nice and open they are of you learning and moving ahead within the company. That's the things you want to kind of figure out during the interview process. This is things that I talked about in other episodes on this channel. So in summary, if you are applying for a job, it does make sense to put down the certification that you are actually applying for at that level. There's nothing wrong with that. And don't really communicate that you got your CCMP and your CCIE. Don't really worry about that. Don't really communicate that too much. You can, but it depends on the environment that you are working in. But really, just don't talk about it. If you do get more networking experience on the job, then you can say, hey, I got my CCMP. Then you can then communicate that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with stretching the truth, you know. That's everybody does it. So don't think that it's not a moral thing to do. Everybody does it though. But yes, if you're applying for a job, I would definitely say put down the certification based on the level of that job. Because if you put down CCIE and you have no networking experience, but servers and desktops, it's going to come off and give a lot of red flags for the employer. Now, if you're starting out in this process of becoming a network engineer, then do that particular approach of step by step. Well, first, you get a basic job that gives you some exposure to networking. When you get just a little bit of that exposure, or even if you're about to, get your CCNA. Then from there, when you have that experience, a little bit of networking, then you get your CCMP. And that can then allow you to get a job and say, yes, I have experience. I did blah, blah, blah. That experience could land you a job as being a network engineer. When you get at that level, get your CCIE. And from there, you can then move up the ladder for other jobs. That is the recommended approach for how you do that. And that's exactly what I did for my career. When I was working at Cisco, I got my CCNA while I was working at Cisco. Probably not a fair example because Cisco is a networking company. And I thought I would be at Cisco for a long time. That's not the case. Cisco is a very political environment. You got to drink the Kool-Aid, as we call it. And I left Cisco after a year. But I got my CCNA when I was at Cisco. And then from there, I started actually at that point, I got another job. Doing a lot more networking responsibilities. I was working at a service provider. And that allowed me to get my CCMP. And then from there, I eventually, again, got my CCIE. I was able to do that exactly how I'm describing it here. I slowly moved up based on the experience I was gaining, and I just added the certifications to complement my experience. And that's why I have a dedicated episode talking about paper certified and experience certified, talking about all of that and what companies really value. That if you are certified and experienced, you are very, very valuable. So definitely check out that video if you haven't done so already. And we are done with this episode. So HD Flight Sim, thank you for another great question. I understand it can be frustrating of trying to get a job, getting networking experience. That's really what you're really asking from the last video that we talked about, and with this one about how you should list your certifications for the jobs that you are applying for. Now, you also mentioned something about you're based out of Egypt. And I had an episode that I talked about, it's all about locations. So watch that episode about best locations equals the best jobs. Watch that episode, put in Egypt for the location and see what networking opportunities exist. And it could be a lot, it could be few. So, and then if it's not a lot, then you may have to make some very difficult decisions about what you should do next. And that could involve maybe moving. Again, it's a very personal thing. I don't want to kind of give people like, yes, you should move. No, you may have family, you may have other personal stakes for where you live. So don't leave for that. But it's something to keep in mind if you truly, truly want to be a network engineer and have more opportunities of getting there. It is based on locations. I tell you, it is really the biggest thing I have seen. I've seen people struggle because of where they live, because the opportunities just aren't there. So you just want to keep that in mind. So, but once again, thank you very much for that question. Just use those tips. Watch all the videos on this channel to help you get a foundation of what you should be doing next to get you on the path that you want to go. So thank you for watching this video, guys. I do appreciate it. And as always, I want to hear from you. So post your questions about anything in the networking field or being a network engineer in the comments below, and your question will come up in a future episode on this channel. So again, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our channel. Check out our practical training that we have at routehub.net. We just released our new training package for Riverbed Steelhead that does WAN optimization. So go ahead and check that out on our website for more details. And the other training that we have. So again, third time, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you guys next time.